Let's talk about one of the most discouraging and confusing pressures I hear from pastors. They say things like this: I'm preaching the truth, I'm praying faithfully, but the church still isn't growing. Maybe that's you. And maybe you're wondering if it's your fault or if maybe something's just wrong with your church. Here's what I want you to hear and certainly to process. The problem might not be your faithfulness, it might be your framework. I mean, look around. Churches are closing. Attendance is down at lots of places, maybe most places. Giving is flat, volunteers are disengaged, but it might not be a theology issue. In fact, many of the churches that are declining right now are gospel centered. They're theologically solid. Their ministries are built on the Bible. So why are they shrinking? Is it because God isn't blessing them? Well, I don't think so. It might be because they lack strategy, because they lack alignment, because, and this is important, because no one taught you how to lead an organization. You were taught how to shepherd people. That creates a pressure that most pastors can't quite name, but they absolutely feel. You're doing everything you know how to do, but you're leading an organism without an operating system. Here's a shift that every healthy church at some point has made. Healthy churches know they don't grow on accident. They grow because they are led well, organizationally and spiritually. I mean, think about like a plant, a healthy plant. A healthy plant doesn't grow healthy on accident. Someone leads the growth. There is, and I am terrible at planting. I should have chosen a better metaphor, but if you want to grow something, right? If you want to create a healthy, rose bush, right? I'm going to make this up because I don't know how to do it exactly, but I have killed a bunch of bushes, so I know what not to do. Here's what you do for sure. You got to have good soil. You got to till it correctly. You got to fertilize it well. When you plant it, you maybe move it from a pot to the ground. There's work you got to do there. You can't just plop it out and plop it back in, right? You got to mulch it or pine straw it. You got to water it. You got to nurture, you got to feed it. And as it grows, you have to prune it. That's all leadership work. You can't just pray over it. You have to lead it. John Maxwell, one of the greatest really leaders in and around the church, right, for decades, says that everything rises and falls on leadership. I have found that to be true. You have probably found that to be true. When I first became a lead pastor, I had experience in marketplace leadership. I, have a business degree and an MBA, and I went to work in the consulting kind of area for a while, ran my own business for a while. So I had a lot of practice with leadership. Got into the church and really enjoyed the leadership aspects there. I learned very quickly, though, that leadership was just as important as theology. And I don't want to say that, they're not 100% equal, right? I mean, there are probably some really good leaders with bad theology, but I'll tell you this, interestingly, they can build really big organizations with bad theology. You've probably heard this before. You don't need Jesus to grow a big church. And that's true because a charismatic leader can get away with a lot that solid theology alone can't do by itself. So if you really do want to grow a healthy church, and I think you do, a healthy church is a church that is reaching lots of unchurched, lost people, that's helping the found grow in their depth of spirituality, right? That's what healthy churches really should do. So healthy churches are, like successful Great Commission churches. So if you want to lead a healthy church, we've got to become better as leaders. Let me walk you through 4 key leadership muscles that every pastor really should try to strengthen. It's hard to get all of these so perfected that you don't ever need to work on them again. So no matter how good of a leader you are right now, here are 4 key leadership muscles that we all could probably use working out a little bit more. The first one, it's our mission, vision, and strategy muscle. I can't say this enough. You cannot share who you are, why you exist, what you hope to see happen, and how you're going to get there too much. You can never assume that everyone in your church knows why you exist or knows where you are going. Listen, I work with churches all over the world. I am in churches almost every weekend, preaching and working with staffs, elders, volunteers. And I'll tell you, I love it when a church asks me to come and help with a strategy session, because the first thing I do is I say, hey, somebody tell me what the mission is. And I look at the leader, the lead pastor, and I go, but not you, somebody else. I am always, and I shouldn't be shocked, but I'm always shocked at how infrequently other people are able to articulate the mission back to me, much less the vision or the strategy, the plan on how we're going to accomplish it. Again, I don't want to grade you as a leader on this, but if you were to go ask, your staff team, your key volunteers, maybe your board, your elders, hey, what is our mission? Would they all be able to recite it back to you? And I think even more importantly, would they know what to do with it? Would they understand what it means? Or is it just words for them? Do they know your vision? Do they have a vision statement that they could regurgitate back to you? Do they understand the importance of it? And gosh, do they know the plan of how you're going to accomplish it? Do they know the strategy? We've got to get unbelievably clear with this, and we have to communicate it constantly. I learned this again the hard way too. I would say the mission and vision all the time at Woodstock City Church. I got so tired of saying it. I got tired of hearing myself say it. So one day I, began asking some of our kind of lead staff, hey, I'm thinking about not saying this every week or whatever. And they were, of course, you're the leader. They kind of go along with what you say. I realized pretty quickly, though, that was a mistake, because I was tired of hearing myself say it. But by the time I got to that point, I think people were just beginning to hear it and not even yet own it. So vision leaks. Mission statements leak. You have to say it over and over and over, but you can't do it if you don't have clarity on it. That's a leadership muscle that we cannot stop exercising. All right, here's the second one. You have to build a leadership pipeline. I mean, how many times have we found ourselves in our churches scrambling to fill volunteer roles on a Sunday morning, right? We should never be doing that. We really need to develop a kind of people-focused leadership pipeline. And really, leadership development, in a lot of ways, that's your legacy. I mean, the people who come to faith through your ministry, absolutely, that's a part of your legacy, right? Your family. I mean, there's lots of things that play into your legacy. But the people that you develop along the way are a huge part of your legacy. I have begun to believe that, and I've been in leadership now for a long time, I've begun to believe that you really don't know how good of a job you did as a leader until you are gone and somebody else is leading it. It's almost like parenting. You don't really know how good of a job you do parenting until your kids become parents. I've got a 10-month-old granddaughter right now. I'm barely beginning to see how good of a job we might have done with my oldest daughter, who's married, and they're raising this incredible kid, and they're doing a great job right now, right? But they're just getting into this. I think leadership's the same way. I mean, 4 years ago, I left Woodstock City Church to begin working specifically with pastors just like you and consulting with churches, coaching leaders. And I really began to see our church through a different lens after I left. When I was able to transition the leadership to Samer Masad, who was an unbelievable leader, great pastor, I'm so grateful that he was a part of our organization. He was, though, in our leadership pipeline. I hired him 7 years before he became the lead pastor. He led our college ministry called The Living Room. And I mean, I started it with like 100 students or something at a campus, Kennesaw State University, just down the road from us. He built it to way over 1,000. Or I never probably could have done that. I mean, he is so good at what he does. But I put him on our leadership team. I allowed him to be a part of our leadership decision processes. I allowed him to sit beside me as we made lots of hard decisions and did lots of ministry-related things, because it was a part of our leadership process, our pipeline process. I wanted to develop people like Samer intentionally, because he would eventually be a part of my legacy. Now, whether he led this church or not, he was going to lead something, and I wanted him, when he got that chance, to be prepared to do as well as he could. So we have to build intentional leadership pipelines. And listen, this doesn't have to be complicated. I think sometimes we hear the word leadership pipeline and we get overwhelmed by what it could be, and we have to design the systems and all this curriculum. And I mean, good for you if you want to do all that. I mean, if that's kind of your DNA, if you have that core competency, that's awesome. And share it with others if you do. But developing an intentional leadership pipeline doesn't have to be that complicated. What if you just ask this question all the time? How can I replace myself? And here's what you would do if you ask that all the time. You would find leaders who are really capable, and you would invite them just to come alongside of you. It's amazing what proximity and leadership can do for others. I mean, I got to sit beside people like Andy Stanley, Jeff Henderson, amazing leaders for over a decade. Just the proximity to that changed so much about me as a leader. And they weren't necessarily doing intentional things, right, to help me grow as a leader. But they were beside me, and I was beside them. I got to watch them make really good decisions, watch them launch churches, watch them have hard staff conversations. So what if that's all you did, but you were intentional about it? A leadership pipeline can be that easy, that simple, but still really, really powerful. Okay, here's the third muscle. You have to evaluate your church's culture. Your church's culture. You may have heard of this guy named Peter Drucker. He's kind of like the godfather of management and leadership. I mean, when I was in my MBA program, my management course that I took was basically a course on Peter Drucker. So Peter said, and you may have heard this quote, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." And he is 100% right. You can have the best people, you can have the best strategy, you can have the best plan, and your culture, if it is not working for it, will destroy everything around it. Culture always wins. I mean, what if you ask this question about your culture? What is it like to be pastored, led, and served here? That answer is a culture answer. And here's what I bet you will find. If you dig into your culture, I think you will find that you have values written on the wall that aren't all happening down the hall. I think you'll find that a lot of the values, maybe not all, but some of the values that you would say are cultural for you aren't as cultural as you think. They're written somewhere down, but they're not really being lived out. And that's normal for culture. We call those aspirational values. We want them to be true, but wanting them to be true doesn't mean they're absolutely true. Hope isn't a strategy, right? You can't hope a value into existence. On the other hand, I bet you have some values that you don't know are valued, but are driving behaviors that you wish weren't a part of your organization. Those are hidden values that you don't know exist. But if you dig into your culture, you may find what those are. I do this with a lot of churches. I do it with some marketplace organizations too, where we do these cultural assessments. I love doing them because when you meet with the leader, the leadership team, the board, when you ask them what their values are, somebody pulls out a piece of paper or it's printed somewhere, it's written on the wall somewhere, and they go, "Oh, we have those." And I go, "Oh, okay, great. What if we just, out of curiosity, what if we decided to figure out if they're actually valued in the organization?" When we go through that process, and it's a really extensive process, but I won't bore you with it now, but when you go through this process, I have never not found this. About half of the values that we've written on the wall aren't actually happening down the hall. They're not true values because they don't have behaviors associated with them. However, there are 2, 3, or 4 other things that are valued in the organization that the leadership has no idea are values. This is so critical to figure out. You have to evaluate your church's culture, and not just evaluate it, you have to define it and refine it so that it can be healthy, right? If it isn't clear, then it's not going to be healthy. And you've got to make some shifts to make sure that's happening. Culture, culture, culture. So number 3, that muscle, evaluate your culture. And here's the 4th muscle. You have to innovate your ministry model. I talk a lot about this, and so I won't go on and on about it, but your mission is sacred, your model is not. We have to be willing to update our methods to serve the mission, not the other way around. And we have all seen this before. You may be living in this right now where it feels like, it feels like your model is the mission. Like serving the model has become the mission, Have you ever seen that before somewhere where maybe you go to a different church, different organization, and you watch what they're doing, and if you were to ask, hey, so why are you doing that? Either they wouldn't have an answer or they would say, oh, well, that's just how we do it. It's how we've always done it. That answer is a massive red flag that the mission has become the method. And now serving the method, the model, has become our mission, whether it's accomplishing the actual mission or not. I think this is one of the biggest maladies in church today. We see churches with a model from, before the internet was invented, right? We see people who have a ministry model from the 1900s, okay? That doesn't seem that long ago for me. I'm 50, but it's a long time ago, 25 years ago. Think about how much has changed in the last 25 years. And some of your mission are from 50 years ago. Your model, is from 50 years ago. Think about how much has changed in the world, in your culture. And I know if you hear that and it kind of rubs you the wrong way, let me say it this way, okay? God is never changing, but the methods are. Just because the message doesn't change doesn't mean our delivery mechanisms shouldn't. Jesus did this. He didn't speak about grace the exact same way to everybody. Every situation required a slightly different approach. So what did Jesus do? He adjusted the approach. Just think about how he talked to the woman at the well versus how he talked to the Pharisees, right? Completely different approaches. And you see it everywhere throughout Scripture. We should do the same. Our method is just how we do it. The mission is the thing we're loyal to. That's the thing that never changes. So here's the thing I love about these 4 muscles. Just to kind of begin to wrap up a little bit. None of them require a bigger budget, right? None of them require like trendier programming. It really just requires stronger leadership. And by the way, as John Maxwell said, everything rises and falls on leadership. So here's your kind of pressure release thought for today, at least. You don't need to carry the church on your back, but you do need to lead it on purpose. You are the leader of the church, of the organization, of the ministry, of the team. It's on you to make sure that those 4 leadership muscles are being exercised, that they're being utilized. And I would start with those 4. I would talk to your team about them. I would maybe even take a step with one of them. If you need help doing that, there's lots of places where you can get support. I'd love to talk to you about that. If that's something that would be beneficial for you. If you're not sure where the pressure is kind of coming from today, there's an easy way to figure this out. If you go to gavinadams.com, I have a pressure inventory that you can take. It's like 5 minutes and it's completely free. It will tell you where your greatest pressure points are and give you some ideas to begin working on them. Also, I offer pressure valve sessions. They're just live conversations with like-minded pastors just like you. They're 1 hour. They're free. Every month I do one of these where we attack one pressure over 60 minutes and we come up with some solutions that can help you make progress that day. If you want to go deeper, check out my leadership labs. Those are more intensives that I do with a select group of pastors on a topic. That might be beneficial for you as well. Hey, I love reducing the pressure with you together. And until the next pressure pod is out,